Hey everyone, welcome to another special episode of the What If episode 3 on 4GQ TV. And today with us, as usual, you see Dion below me, and then below him you see Paris, and Paris has a new camera that he's using, a higher quality camera, so you might see some differences until we figure it all out. But we're gonna roll with this episode because this What If series, I don't know, I think we have mixed thoughts, but I'm gonna let PK hit it off right from the bat, aka Dion. Tell us what happened and what's going on when this opened up.
So this episode opened up, I guess I was listening and watching. It was definitely different and weird, right? It started out with the Iron Man 2 scene, I think it was, where see Tony eating a a donut, and then they have the conversation in the diner, and at that point, Iron Man was still affected by the issue of his chest piece reaching out and poisoning. They gave him a shot, just like in the movie, and basically told him, "Hey, we're saving you," blah blah blah. And it's what's crazy is instead of that, he fell over like he was dead. Now I thought this was a joke, and then it turns out he was dead. And then you got the next scene. They're arresting Black Widow, basically accusing her of killing Iron Man. I was like, what? This is weird. This ain't real, right? And that I'm gonna be honest. I forgot this is a what if show. So, anyways, then they go to the next scene, and it's like Thor, the first one, and he comes to Earth. He's trying to get his hammer, and there was lots of jokes about his hair being beautiful, and he just looks amazing, and all this good stuff. And
Smelled great.
yeah, he smelled great. He smelled like lavender, right? And Hawkeye was asking should he shoot or not, and he, Hawkeye released his bow and killed Thor, and I thought it was weird because when I was looking at it, it's like, first of all, can Thor die? I did never knew that, or is it only because he didn't accept his powers yet? He was kind of immortal, and then
Mhm.
Hawkeye doesn't miss, nor does he hesitate. He's a marksman for a reason. But he said he didn't let go of his arrow or his quiver, so or his bow. He didn't let go of nothing. He's that dude that always hits the mark. So when he did it, it was weird, and he was in the jail cell, and they was talking to him, or trying to talk to him, or he was talking to himself rather. That's what happened. And he was talking to himself. He's like, "Man, this ain't me." Blah blah blah. And then Nick Fury wanted to go talk to him. He was dead, and it was like nobody was in there. How did he die? It was like, and it kind of threw me off because I didn't see nothing. You didn't see a wind or anything. It was just really strange what's going on. But I started to pick it up that the idea is the Avengers, instead of assembling, they're dead on arrival, right? The Avenger Initiative is dead on arrival. So Nick Fury basically gives Black Widow the syringe to go investigate what really happened because he don't believe that she killed him.
Mhm.
And when she took it to the scientist, aka and the scientist happens to be General Ross's daughter, and a lot of people who watch the Incredible Hulk movie, the last one, um, remember this whole area and this scene, and they turn to find out that the syringe never injected the antidote, but it had some sort of combustion into the needle, like it was broke. That was also strange, almost like somebody shot a gun or something out of the end of a needle.
Right.
Um, so she got a call from her boss asking or not her boss, Coulson, was it? Was it Coulson or was it Nick? No, it was Nick at first,
It was Nick Fury. Yeah.
Yeah, Nick
and
Fury.
asking about finding Bruce. It turns out he was hiding in the closet or whatnot, and that's when you hear the tanks showing up and all kinds of stuff was happening. And this is the direct scene from the Incredible Hulk movie, when he was in that spot. So
Mhm.
I all of this is still strange and like a mystery at this point. Um, trying to put together what is really going on. I'm thinking it's got to be some sort of supernatural being or something, that we didn't know. But I again, I keep forgetting this is a what if, and it's also based off the MCU. So I I was trying to put things in there that don't belong, right? So that's where I was at. I felt like to this point I'm still kind of lost. What's going on? So I'm still watching, trying to make sense of everything. I don't know. Paris, what about you? What do you think? What was happening at that time? When at the same time that they were dealing with that stuff in the university.
Yeah. Yeah. This whole episode was really trippy because you're like, what? She killed Iron Man. I thought it was a joke too, right? And then Thor gets hits with the arrow, right? And then, as you were saying, Hawkeye gets killed. We don't know what happened, and the wind blew and killed him, right? Uh, so Romanoff is at the university trying to figure out what's going on, talking to the doctor, and then they find out, and then they're looking for Hulk, and he pops out. Banner pops out, and then General Ross shows up with all his tanks, and everybody's out there, and Roman, I was like, "Hey, we got to get out of here," and he's like, "I'm the Hulk." He goes down there and starts beating up the tanks, uh, which I was like, "Okay, this is totally a definitely shout out to the original Hulk movie that they had." When he went ballistic on the university, and General Ross flew with the helicopters and all that stuff. So that was pretty cool to see that sort of flashback. Shout out to that original Hulk movie. One thing I do want to call out on this also is that when Hulk got killed, I was like, what? And once he started getting big and big and big, I was like, this dude's about to explode. He exploded. And I was like, what is going on? They killed the hog. And I was like, who has the know how and the skills to do this? Right. And I just was thinking maybe some alien presence or something not of this world. Right. And to come to find out, it was Ant Man. Ant Man was fighting Romanoff, and, she said it was about hope. And, yeah, it was real interesting to see that sort of what Ant Man like would have. But if you really think about it, Pym particles, Pym's a smart dude, right? So he's got all sorts of just a history of making stuff, and all sorts of stuff, and PK, I feel your pain about how come he just didn't shrink him down into the into the never world or whatever the quantum world, and just let them be lost in there. But he was going straight for the jugular. He was like, they're all dying. I'm not playing any games, because he still believed that his wife was dead. So and she blamed the Avengers, right? Or well, he was blaming Shield, right? I think, was he blaming Shield? He was blaming Shield.
He blamed Shield for his daughter's death,
Yeah,
and Nick Fury was responsible.
right. Nick Fury was responsible. So yeah, it was just so sort of trippy, right? And PK, as they're thinking about, like, how did you feel about just that part where the Hulk blew up? And I know I'm going to go to you, Carlo, in a second, but I just wanted to know how you felt about it because I know the the level of the show was, you're we're all anime fans, so right. So when he got blown up, it was trivia. To me, I was like, "What the heck is going on?"
It just seems surreal. Like it didn't add up to me,
All right,
right? I mean, Bruce Banner shot himself in his face, like put a gun in his mouth, and the Hulk came out.
right.
Like,
Spit the bullet out. Right.
um, it just seems highly unlikely. I'm not saying, it just seems weird. Like this,
Mhm.
something's off this whole time.
Yeah.
Um, and I was disappointed, right? Because this is the Hulk, and he just, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. So
Yeah.
I
Out
don't
of
know,
all the
man.
heroes, right? Out of all the
Yeah,
heroes, I was like, he's probably the last one I would think that's going to get murdered off because I was like, there's no way. I could
right.
understand Iron Man. I understood Thor. Hawkeye was still, but he's a normal person, so I understood that. Romanoff, I would understand how she would, get killed off too. But the way they did Hulk, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. It's really like this. It's really happening. So, Carlo, my friend, as you know, they're back at Shield trying to figure things out. Nick Fury gets a visit by someone in an army full of someones with Lady Sif and all of them. So, how did you feel when you seen those scenes? Like, what was your first sort of thought? Shield rolls up in their trucks, and then a whole army's out there like waiting for them. Right? What was your
Uh,
thoughts about that?
my first thought was that maybe Loki had something to do with all this because, we've always known that Loki wanted to rule Asgard, and he always felt
Right.
like Thor was hindering him from his true potential of being recognized. So I was thinking, okay, maybe Loki had something to do with this, and now he's trying to trick Earth and get Shield on his side for other purposes. That's what I kind of thought when we saw this scene, right? I mean, I didn't really know what else Loki could have wanted. Like, would Loki really avenge Thor's death with all the jealousy he has inside of him, or would he be glorious that he became the next ruler of Asgard, right? In this what if universe, apparently being the ruler wasn't enough. So I was really surprised by that.
Yeah. And then he comes, and the army's outside. He's about to take over about to beat down Shield. Nick Fury has a conversation with him. So, what's your thoughts about after Nick Fury had that conversation with them and convinced him to help?
Well, I think that it was kind of I think as Marvel fans, we knew that no matter what Loki said, we couldn't trust him because you can never trust a Loki 100% to their word. They're always the mischievous god of lies or trickery, whatever you want to call it. So
Mm-hmm.
for Nick Fury to try to make a deal with a Asgardian god kind of, I mean, in the back of my mind, knowing Marvel, kind of amused me a little bit because this Nick Fury in this world didn't know who Loki was yet. And he believed that this god of a brother of another god was there to help him. He believed that they could work together. Yeah, he didn't see
Mhm.
any cross intention with Loki.
Right.
Are you talking about Nick Fury?
Yes.
Are you talking about the Nick Fury, the super spy that don't trust nobody?
Well, he didn't even know who Thor was at the time. So this
It
is a
doesn't
whole
matter. It doesn't
I've
matter. This is Nick Fury. He literally has a beeper with some contraption attached to it. He don't trust nobody. His car is a supercar.
I don't know, man. I think this Nick Fury wasn't as wise as all the other Nick Furies, and I'll tell you why I think that, right? So, real quick, I'm gonna go into this. This Nick Fury in this what if universe wasn't as sarcastic, wasn't as mean, and wasn't as on top of things as the Nick Fury that we know from the actual universe. Like this Nick Fury wouldn't have like Nick Fury in our universe would have suspected everything off the bat what was happening. But this Nick Fury, he didn't even trust Coulson at one point. So this Nick Fury in this what if universe was not the same Nick Fury that we know.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the point, right? It's what if, like, what if Nick Fury wasn't really Nick Fury, sort of thing. Maybe he wasn't on his p's and q's and all that stuff.
I don't
So
know.
it's a tough pill to swallow, PK.
I don't know.
All right, so Carlo, when they're at the fight scene, right? Let's get into this fight scene. Nick Fury versus Hank. Well, Pym, Mr. Pym, yeah, Hank Pym, right? What were you? What was you thinking? When did Nick Fury get superpowers? Was that your thoughts? That was my thoughts.
Well, see, right before that, there were some clues that we were alluded to, right? So even though we didn't know what exactly it's hope, it's all about hope. We might not have gotten it at that point, but he has that special beeper that PK is talking about, and he doesn't tell Coulson where he's going, but he goes to meet with Loki's army, right? And then the next thing we know, we're at the graveyard with Nick Fury. The one thing that we have always known is that Loki has been able to impersonate people. So for
Hmm.
me, I picked up on that because I was like, why would Nick Fury put himself in a position knowing that he's not a match for Hank Pym at this point? Like he's not a match for the Ant-Man in the yellow jacket, and we see the Loki as Nick Fury. You guys, most people probably didn't realize this, but he was like on point with punching him and flipping over him and like backhanding him, and he just kept laughing and talking smack. It's like, oh, is that all you got? You got anything else for me? Like the fight scene was really built up really well in this episode. And I think that was one of the best parts of this episode because it kind of gave you the eerie feel in the graveyard. Then you realize that Hope wasn't alive. You hear the story from Hank about how he blames Nick Fury for her death when she went on a Shield mission, and then you kind of get the idea of why he killed all the Avengers, why he was killing off all the Avengers before they became the Avengers Initiative, because Hank realized that eventually Nick Fury was trying to form a super team that S.H.I.E.L.D. could direct. And without the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D. wouldn't be as strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he would think, okay, I'm going to get Nick Fury. So in this fight scene, he's doing everything he can to kill Nick Fury, and then all of a sudden as Hank is laying on the ground, you see multiple of Nick Fury just like laughing at him, and they turn into Loki, and then you're like, yes, we got him, we got Hank, we got him down, he's begging now. And you know Nick Fury and Loki kind of like talk to him and take him away, and but we knew, right? I mean, us as Marvel fans, we knew that Loki always had another purpose, right? Loki's never there for the right reason ever. Except Alligator Loki. I love you, Alligator Loki, if you're watching. Um, so Loki kind of like talks at a diplomatic UN nations kind of meeting and says, all the world's defenses have been put aside because I brought peace to the world. Humans need to feel like they're being ruled. And then at the White House, you see like Loki's after Loki, like the helmets and his army and their staffs. And it's like everybody is just either in love with Loki or they're just afraid of him because he's such a supernatural kind of mystic being god. And
Hmm.
then after you see all that cutscene, you're like, oh man, I feel bad for this Earth, wherever this is. Like, I don't want to be on this Earth anymore. But then you see Nick Fury, and it gives you hope because Nick Fury he's a guy that, even if he wasn't in his top notch in this what if universe, he's a guy that never gives up. He never stops trying. And he's not afraid to die. Like, he is not afraid of anything. He has no fear. And he's looking over the graves of the Avengers, and he's talking, and he feels bad because that would have been the Avengers team right there. But then he's like, all hope is not lost. And then you see Captain Marvel come down, and you see
Right.
him rub the shield of Captain America trapped in ice. And you know, between Captain Marvel being one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe and Captain America, one of the most powerful super soldiers in the universe, that Loki is going to be no match for them, because with Captain Marvel and Captain America at Shield's side and undermining whatever Loki's governmental intention would be, we know that that world will eventually come back to some type of normalcy. And
Right.
I think, you know, this episode kind of showed us a weird side of the what if universe. And some of us may not have liked it as much. And I could see that. I think the
Right.
ending to this episode is the key and the clue to really appreciating what Marvel did here with this story. The beginning and the middle, I personally wasn't a huge super fan of the writing there either. Like Dion said, but I think the ending, I think in this, Marvel nailed the ending perfectly, because Captain America and Captain Marvel were always about hope. And it goes back to that. It's hope. It's all about hope. And then you just see the shield, with the American flag colors, and then you see Captain Marvel. It's like so cool to me. So if I had to give this a rating, I'm gonna be honest here. I'm gonna go with maybe like a 3.5 out of 5, because the last 10 minutes was my favorite part of this episode, and the earlier scenes it was harder for me to hang on. Like, oh, I don't like what's going on. The Hulk's boom blown up, and it is tough to deal with, and Dion has some points there. So Dion, since you are below me, I want to go to you real quick and ask what you think about this episode and what your rating would be, and be honest, tell the
I
fans
am.
out
I
there.
mean, I genuinely feel like this is a weak episode. I felt like it was poor writing. Um, they didn't generally give a good representation of the characters and what they would do in a situation similar. Um, Looking at Hank Pym himself, right? Because this is a overall and a revenge story. And what was the resolution? What did we get out of this? We just got another revenge story, to be honest. Um, and then we have Loki trying to take over the world. And so, honestly, there was no real resolution, no character arc, really. I mean, you talked about this ain't Nick Fury, so that tells you that this character, even though this is Nick Fury, he was written weak. And for Hank Pym being who he was, he's too smart to do revenge in such a manner, right? Especially after finishing the Yellow Jacket. What's the point of killing the Avengers when they have nothing to do with Hope?
Right.
I don't understand that. At the very end, if he blames Shield, just take Shield out. He can literally shrink the entire Shield division to oblivion. He doesn't even have to kill anybody. Just shrink them to oblivion. Have them throw them in the shrink, make them small. Problem go away. Or even if it was that he had to have the pleasure of killing Nick Fury, it's not like he couldn't. He got in, he killed the Avengers. My thing is, I just didn't understand what was the point. You get what
Right.
I'm saying? And I just felt like it just was kind of a bad trope. It was just bad to kind of serve them up for a plot. Plot, you know, I thought it was highly unnecessary. They could have done it without killing the Avengers and still had a good show, but written it in a way where Avengers didn't assemble, at least not in the traditional that we remember it happening. But, and then, but again, I get it. They're trying to make a show, but at the end of the day, is more or less that. I felt like this was the weakest one, especially following the first 2 weeks being quite strong, as strong as they were. The acting and the story, the script, the banner, the everything was on point, and then you get to this, and it's like this is odd, yo. This something is off here, and I'm be honest, I can't accept Hulk getting killed that way. And I mean, that's not the deal breaker, but it's like this is what we're doing. How does the how does Ant Man know how to deal with Hulk? Out of all people, how would he know how to deal with him?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, to me, I don't think he would. And why go after him? Why is he in Virginia when he should be on a helicarrier somewhere taking Nick Fury out? That's the way I view it. I mean, apparently he's been in their confines, so I don't see a point of taking Iron Man out when he's not really a threat. All I'm saying is he took the Avengers out. They're no threat. They were no threat before, and they wouldn't be a threat after, because there just won't be no shield, and they wouldn't know nothing about it. So I don't know. I just felt like, for me, maybe like giving it a 2 is asking much for me.
Oh,
Um, I just find this one to be extremely weak, especially after following the last couple weeks. It's just very hard to come after those highs, and then you hit this, and you're like, really? Is this the same? And but it is what it is. I mean, everyone has different perception, but that's just my take on it. So I don't know. Paris, what about you?
You gave it a two.
Yeah.
Two. Oh man. Oh, let's see. Let's start where one thing I do like. In our Marvel Cinematic Facebook group, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you know, uh, we don't understand. This isn't right. Right? This isn't how the right." But one thing that I think, even with some of the past episodes, like PK, you alluded to this when you were talking previously. It was like people forget that this is what if, right? And that's what you got to take it for. It's like what if there's like an infinite amount of possibilities with what if. So we just got to take it for what it's for, right? It's not, they're pulling the strings from one perceived outcome. Like for example, the Avengers didn't assemble, right? They maybe could have did an episode without them dying, or maybe one or two of them dying, or whatever, right? But they decided to kill them all instead of having them come together. So for me, I'm taking it for what it's worth as far as like the stories and how they're being told and across the multiple episodes that we've seen so far. And I'm just not going to dive too deep into it as a fan because I know it's all sort of like a whole bunch of infinite possibilities. Which you do have a point about the writing and those sort of the way that they did the story because I gave it a 3.5 myself. Based off the first two episodes, and I was expecting a little bit more out of this episodes when you have Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, and all those massive characters in one episode, and I know you only got 30 minutes to do something with it. So, but I just felt that they probably could have did a little bit more or had maybe a little bit more dialogue. I don't even think Thor said a word. If he did, I don't know how many of them he said. Right. So it was it's just part of that. But I'm still taking it for what it's worth. As what if I think. These stories after they end, it's going to be key to see what Marvel sort of does with it for what if season two. Do they continue these stories in their each individual manner? So I don't think they're going to tie them together. And if they do, that'd be interesting. But I would love to see sort of them, sort of like if they did a season two, finished what they've done here in these episodes so far. Like continue that, you know, Captain Carter story, continue that what if, T'Challa it was Star Lord, and then at the end you got um, Peter Quill's dad showing up, right, the Celestial, and going to take him. right? Continue that story. Like now they all have to fight the God and Peter Quill or something like that, right? So, and Peter wants to be like his dad, right? So he doesn't know, right? So all that stuff, right? I surely hope they do continue, but it's what if, it could be what if something else, and it is what it is. It's like the episodes they end, right? That's it. The story's over. So it could be that too, and I'll be perfectly fine with it, because it's just what if, and I love like I'm still a big, huge fan of how they're doing the animation in the shows. So that's what's for this episode. That's what's giving me that 3.5. And PK, you do have a point on the writing and stuff like that, and how they did the characters. But that's sort of my take on it. Carlo, how do you feel? I think you already gave it your 3.5 also.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, let's go ahead and close this out.
Well, everyone, I just want to thank you for all your continued support and watching us. We've seen major growth on Facebook, so I want to say a big thank you to everybody out there that has been continuing to follow us on multiple platforms, including YouTube. It's been a big deal for us, and I want to hear your comments. Leave them below this video, whether you see this on YouTube, Facebook, IGTV, or wherever you see it. Just leave some comments. Let us know what you think. Also, a big shout out. I want to give a big shout out to the people on the podcast feeds because we are picking up a lot of listenership in India and Russia. And it's awesome to see you guys come in and comment here and there, even if it's in your own language. We've seen that a couple times. And we tried to translate it, but it's very much appreciated. So I want to thank all of you out there who have given us a chance and listened to us, and expect that next episode because I think it's going to be the zombie one, and I am excited for it. I love zombies, so yeah,
I think
I'm
it's
really
Doctor Strange. I think it's Doctor Strange.
Is
Yeah,
it Doctor Strange? Because
it's,
somebody said the
it's
episode
Doctor Strange one.
for promos are the
Yeah,
zombies. Oh well, we'll have to wait and
could
see.
be. We'll have to wait and see because what if is tomorrow.
That's right. So we'll be back soon, and thank you all for watching.
Peace.